Welcome back to my channel Conquer the Fear. In this video we are going to discuss about one of the Spring Boot exception, that is conflict bean definition exception. Now if you have been working or if you have been freshly been started working on Spring Boot and you are facing this particular exception, then this is the right video for you. So I would recommend you to watch this particular video without skipping until the end. Now, the conflict bean definition exception is part of the Spring Boot. Generally, it is going to occur when the Spring container, is going to find multiple bean definition for the same type of bean name and the same type. Now, during the application context loading phase, you will get this exception. This is actually an ambiguity which is going to prevent your Spring Boot application to be in a confusion or to be in a deciding factor which bean to use. So ultimately, it is going to lead to an error. Now, what is the solution for it? Whether it is the latest version, that is 3.x, or it was previous version, the solution is same. There is a same mechanism to solve this. Now, before going to this, let's understand what is conflict bean definition exception. Now, this is a kind of an exception, that is a type of bean definition store exception. Basically, as I mentioned, it is going to happen when the IoC container, the Spring IoC container, is going to detect a situation where there are two or more source of beans which are trying to get registered when with the same identical name. Okay, when also there is a name that is going to be the default, and there is also a default type conflict over there. Now let's take an example. Okay, so let me write a code to showcase you this particular scenario. Let's create one sample config package. Now under this, I will try to create one class. So basically this is going to be an interface. So here I am going to write, let's say, the payment service. Now this is going to be an interface. Let's say this will have one process payment method. So let me have this particular method written over here. So this will be a as it is an interface, so there is no need to write an implementation as of now. We can do that. Now this is going to be one interface which we are going to have the implementation. So let's create a, I won't be saying an implementation, but we are going to make use of it. So here I'm going to create a class, let's say app config 1 under this. So let me rename this property properly. Now here when I'm going to create this particular class, first of all I have to mark this particular thing as an @configuration. Now under this, what I will do, I will define a bean annotation, because I'm going to create that particular thing over here. Now I'm going to make use of the payment service. Okay, and then I'm going to write this particular method that is going to be the payment service. And then now under this I'm going to return the new, let's say I'm going to return some service which is going to be the, let's say, the credit card, let's say. Okay, this is just for an information purpose. Okay, we will create that, but this is just for an information. Now let me create another one which is going to be the let's say let me duplicate this. Okay, now here I will just mention as 2. Okay, under this let me rename this as to something as PayPal payment service. Okay, under this also I need to have this. Okay, so this is how this particular bean, whatever you see, this bean will have the default method name, that is payment. The method name whatever you see is having that particular thing. Now this is going to be the bean, so it is going to run at that particular time. Now when the Spring is going to scan this particular process, like say this is going to scan this particular configuration class. Okay, so let me first create this particular, let's say, an implementation. Okay, so let me create an implementation under the configuration class. Okay, then let me do it for the same thing. Let me create, so let me implement this as well. Now what will happen, this is going to run that particular application and it is going to return it. But here if you see, so when the Spring is going to scan this particular two applications, right, this app 1 and app 2. Okay, so this is what this will actually will get confused. It will try to register the bean name, that is payment service, over here. Okay, and then it will immediately throw the conflict bean exception. So let me try to run this particular application. Now if you take a look at this, the bean is defined as this particular class. See here, it is overriding is disabled over here. So it is saying that consider renaming this particular, or by enabling the setting this particular property. So this is one of the solution to solve this. But if you see, this is going to be the condition of conflicting bean, where it is going to throw that exception and say that this is uh, an class which is trying to load that particular thing. Now how to solve this? We have to actually either rename that particular bean. Let's say if I go to this particular one of this particular bean. Okay, and if I try to, let's say, give some name as credit card. Okay, now if I try to run this, now you see here the application got started without error. Okay, so this is how you can actually solve this particular solution, where you are getting this conflict bean exception. So now what it is doing, it is trying to auto-wirely inject that particular with the credit card, and it is going to be the default thing. So that is one. Let us look at the second way how we can solve that. Now you can keep this, and then what you can do, you can add right the rate primary over here. So this is one of the way where you can add this particular annotation and get this particular getting sorted. Here if you see, the application is going to successfully get started, there is not going to be any exception. So this is how you can make use of this particular with the combination of @bean, and then you can start your application and solve this particular solution. Now, as I mentioned, there is a third way which you can do that. One is, we already discussed, is using the bean, and the second is we used the primary key. Now if you see, take a look, I have commented out those particular two solution. Now if you go to this particular properties, and if you add this particular property in the property files, either in the YML or in the application.properties, then you will be able to successfully start your application. Now if I remove this, let's say, okay, you will see that application is not going to start it. there will be an exception. Now the moment I add this particular property, okay, and if I start my application, you will see the Tomcat, the application is started and there is no exception as well. So this is how you can actually solve this particular solution when you face this particular conflict bean exception. So I hope this particular video has given you some value. If that is the case, give us a thumbs up. Also don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Thank you for watching. Please also subscribe to my channel. Also watch my other videos on other topics. There are a lot of interview related videos which I have uploaded with different MNCs companies where people have actually attended and cracked the interviews, very high paying jobs. So please check out my channel.